Hi everyone, I'm Amanda and I run the blog Major and Fangirl. Now, this video is a little treat for you guys because usually I just update once a week on Friday nights. However, as you can see obviously by watching this video, I am not just updating once a week, I'm updating again. And so, okay, the reason behind this is because I was scrolling through Facebook and then I saw, you know how some of the television shows have those like quote cards or whatever that they put up? I know Once Upon a Time does it. I'm not sure if Criminal Minds does it, but Sleepy Hollow did it. And they showed, it had Ichabod and then it showed him saying something about like Jack the Ripper. I can't remember what the exact quote was, but I was super excited when I heard it. I'm like, oh my gosh, Sleepy Hollow is incorporating Jack the Ripper, and Jack the Ripper is one of the most like prolific serial killers of all time. And so I was like, no, that's it. I'm watching this. So it's Saturday afternoon and I literally just stopped watching the episode, and so now I'm up here right now recording my review. So you might be a little concerned as to why I'm very excited about Jack the Ripper, but something not a lot of people know is that when I first got out of high school, I changed my major a bunch of times, and I know it says my blog I'm a college senior, but when I was a college freshman, I changed it twice. I was originally going to be a theater major, and then I switched to criminology, and I've always liked crime stories, detective fiction, just like all of the things. I grew up watching like Scooby-Doo, reading Nancy Drew, Sherlock Holmes, and Agatha Christie, and now like I'm going to be reviewing Criminal Minds for next week's update. So yeah, I'm very much into crime, like criminology type things, and so I've so Jack the Ripper is a story that I find very interesting, and I like the episode, like Criminal Minds did an episode with Jack the Ripper, and I thought that was cool. There's been a computer game with Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper, and there's even a book, I have it on my desk, it's called The Whitechapel Horrors, and that's Sherlock Holmes meets Jack the Ripper, and so it's really cool seeing something like huge in like our history and being incorporated into many different works of fiction. And so I think it's really cool that Sleepy Hollow took up the mantle now and brought Jack the Ripper into their show. So needless to say, I had extremely high expectations because all these other things I've seen that have referenced Jack the Ripper have been really good. I was a bit disappointed because, like I said, I had huge expectations, and I thought, well, maybe they'll incorporate more of Jack the Ripper than they did. They actually didn't. Just so the episode is called Blood and Fear, and basically you have there's this one guy, his name's Nelson Myers, and he kills this other guy who is starting a relationship, I believe, with the object of Nelson's affection. So it's kind of a similar thing that we see a bit in, like, you know, Criminal Minds and stuff like that. We see it's a kind of a typical, that's kind of a typical motive, like a unrequited love. There you go. That's what I'm looking for, unrequited love. And so so this Nelson guy meets Pandora, and Pandora gives him this knife, and this knife, it has this ability to make ordinary people into rippers, and so Nelson was the latest to embark on this ripper quest thing, and then that means that Jack the Ripper was actually this guy, was one of these people, which I honestly wanted them to go more in depth into like Jack the Ripper. We found out that Ichabod, when he was boarding school, his closest friend was one of these victims, not of Jack the Ripper, because Jack the Ripper was about 100 years after Ichabod's time, and so but one of the previous Rippers, because the knife goes through and through. It's been they've had these Ripper killings for over 900 years, Abby said. I don't know why it's not 1,000, but over 900. And so they focused a lot on Ichabod and his and his experience with this Ripper. But excuse me, But I was kind of hoping that they would, like, maybe incorporate more of Jack the Ripper. Not just because I'm not saying I'm a fan of his, but because I'm not. But his story is just very intriguing and very interesting, especially because there has obviously well, he wasn't caught. Jack the Ripper wasn't caught, and there's no way to know for certain who Jack the Ripper was. There are a lot of different guesses, some very good, some kind of crazy, but there's no way we can just like we can't get a confession now because the guy's been dead for like hundreds of years, so impossible. So unless he's some sort of like crazy immortal person, which that would make a really, really good show, I have to say. Anyway, yeah. So I was hoping that they might have incorporated more of Jack the Ripper. Like you could see, like not like see him, but kind of like just show how this knife that ends up like then you use a knife once, and then when you use it more, it like grows on you. And so it looks like they have like this gauntlet and the knife's attached to it, but the knife doesn't look like a knife. It looks more like something that knights use when they're jousting. And then you stab the person with it, and then the knife sucks the blood out of the victim. So it's like a cross between a knight. It's like a vampire knight, mosquito knight. I think it was more like a mosquito because they do mention malaria because all of these killings were stopped because of some outbreak of disease, which led Abby and Ichabod to realize that that something in the victim's blood is what is the only way you could kill this whoever the current Ripper was. And so Ichabod ends up injecting himself with malaria in order to kill the Ripper. So yeah, so it makes me think they're thinking more of a mosquito line of that. Yeah, I was very disappointed. Because like, okay, so they use Jack the Ripper, but the victims aren't ripped. They're stabbed a lot, which definitely shows the rage and the fury as Jack the Ripper had in his crimes. But there's no actual ripping, that it's just the blood being drained. And so I really don't know how the link between Jack the Ripper and this person and their version of Jack the Ripper, I don't understand that correlation. So I'm very disappointed. But I did go in with very high expectations, though I would have thought that they would stick more to what actually happened and not just make Jack the Ripper some like night vampire night guy. It's just, yeah, it was very odd, and I kind of lost a bit of interest in the episode because I was very disappointed by this. But yeah, though Jenny and Sheriff Corbin's son, whose name eludes me at this time, but their little storyline, I think that made up for the disappointment that I felt with the Jack the Ripper storyline. I liked how those two were connecting, and how like you got to see more of how Jenny's life was before she had her big appearance, and she started helping Ichabod and Abby with their whole quest as witnesses. So I thought that was good, and that made up for my disappointment with the Jack the Ripper storyline, which is the reason why I decided to drop everything and watch this episode. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed, but overall it was alright. It was an alright episode. I'm kind of getting a hint at kind of what Pandora's doing, because every time like she succeeds and someone's afraid, so I'm assuming because the last shot you see of Abby, it's like she's looking at Ichabod and she looks like she's afraid that Ichabod's gonna die. And then you see Pandora, and Pandora's watching Abby with like this water pond thing that she has where she can gaze into like people's pasts, their futures, I don't know about futures, but their past and the present. So it's kind of, I hope they explain that more. But that but there, that tree that I believe I mentioned a tree in a previous video of Sleepy Hollow where Pandora has a tree thing, but when she saw Abby and Abby was afraid, one of the flowers bloomed. So there's definitely something with those dark flowers, and I don't know what yet. So I'm looking forward to. So yeah, overall it was an alright episode. It's not one that I would watch again anytime soon, mainly because I was very disappointed by their use of Jack the Ripper, and yeah, I was expecting more of Jack the Ripper, not this vampire blood-sucking knight that they had. That made me very disappointed, and I felt very let down because I got all excited for Jack the Ripper and then it's just not that. So yeah, not too happy. So this is not one of my favorite episodes of the season, but oh well. They do mess with history quite a bit, so it's not unexpected, but I'm just very disappointed. But I am looking forward to next week's episode, or is it this week's? No, it's Saturday. Next week's episode, and yeah. So like always, I will post the link to the episode down in the bottom if you would like to see it, and then, like I said in the previous video, for next week's weekly update, so Friday's update, I will be reviewing an episode of Criminal Minds. And I am in season 8 of Criminal Minds. I know Criminal Minds is on season 11, but I'm trying to catch up, just like I had to catch up with Once Upon a Time. So I'm reviewing back episodes of Criminal Minds. So I'm excited for season 8 because there are hints that the Replicator is in season 8, and I'm super excited because the Replicator is, because I follow Criminal Minds on Facebook, so I kind of get to see like things that happen, and so I know who the Replicator is. Well, not really who the Replicator is, but I know Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker, is the Replicator, and I'm so excited because here, I'm going to show you something. I have Star Wars posters everywhere and Luke Skywalker, so I'm excited to see Mark Hamill on Criminal Minds, and so I'm very curious. So like, I'll explain more about my excitement in the video of the Criminal Minds episode. So until next time, have a good day.